What's up, Pirates? Wraith and Jim here with AwakenedTCG, and today we're back with another video. As you can see by the title and what's on your screen, we are back with the How to Win guide. Uh, in previous sets, we do a pre-release event guide. This time, it is not a pre-release event. It is the first anniversary tournament. Essentially, it's the same thing, except it's not a week early. It is on the actual release day of Set 5. But regardless, it is the same format. It's sealed. You open up packs, you make your deck. So let's go ahead and we're going to give you guys the recipe on how to win. Let's do it.
Yep, so first off here, just gonna show everybody last set, a little bit of a scuff picture, I know, but last set I did pull out 2 wins at 2 different pre-release tournaments. So what we are saying here is valid. We do know how to win. This is my deck list that I won first with. It was with Green Kid. And since I won one, I messed around with Blue Croc and actually found Blue Croc is a pretty good leader in pre-release. Here is my winner deck list for that one. But anyways, after getting the credentials out of the way, let's just go right into the leader. So what leader should I play? You're probably asking if you have not played one of these before. Let's make it short and simple. Boom. Green Kid. There is no debate. This is the best leader. People say, oh, Zoro's good. Oh, Katakuri's good throughout the game. No. No BS. Like, genuinely, guys. If you want to win your pre-release, this is your man. Play Eustace Kid. Swing twice in the late game. It is not that hard. It's not that complicated. This leader is going to be the best. He demands they give you a blocker. And if they don't, they lose the game.
Yeah, 100%. There's only one option. If you're seriously thinking about going for that winner card, is get this leader while you can. I think if you still order it, it should be, with you within a week. So if you don't have this leader, get it. If not, we're going to go over a couple of options that are close to as efficient as Captain Kid, but I don't think this leader can be replaced in this spot.
Yeah, no, the king of this format. But if you don't have Kid, these are your other options. There are actually 2 new options in Purple Luffy and Black and Red Sabo that I think are going to work out pretty good. But let's go over the first one. Purple Luffy here is just going to basically... You do have to take a life, which in a meta where everybody's playing Green Kid is a little scary. But we have tested it, and it's actually great if you see the perfect curve. So you're basically getting an extra active Dawn, and you're playing cards you shouldn't be able to play, like big 5/7 vanillas on turn 2, stuff like that, into like a big 8/10 on the next turn if you see the perfect curve. Yeah, this leader can be absolutely terrifying. Next up here, we've got Katakuri, Yellow Charlotte Katakuri. We've talked about him in our last video, but if you don't know, it's basically, you're getting a 7k swing every turn for 1 Dawn, which in a format with not a ton of 2ks is very, very terrifying. Also, the added value of seeing your top life every turn and your opponent's, if you already knows what yours is not to be understated. Not going to be a game changer, but still very strong if you do not have Kid. Again, in the middle, we have Blue Crocodile. I did win with Blue Crocodile last set. It was a bit of a lower pre-release event. That one, I think it was either 8 or 16. It wasn't a huge one. But this leader's great. Basically, the plan that I won with is I get to 10 Dawn, I play my big 10 drop, and then from there, I'm literally using leader effect every single turn. Dawn -4, send back a vanilla. Next turn I'm on 8, play my big 8 drop. Dawn -4, send back a blocker. And then you kind of just overwhelm while continuously removing their board. Zoro, there is not a ton of low-cost characters this set, so I don't think he's great. But the Dawn X1 plus 1,000 to everything value cannot be understated. That is always going to be good, just as not as great as Kid. And last up we have Red and Black Sabo, a very, very interesting leader. Not going to be great in the regular set, but I think he can kind of be a little bit of a tech card there in this format. Because if you do have a Dawn on leader and they don't have a lot of swings, you're basically saying my board is immune. So just attaching one, yeah, your board is now unkillable, which is going to be great in this format with the lack of bottom decks, KO effects, all that stuff. You're only going to be really dealing with the attacks from their characters or leader. But in a format with Green Kid, as I was saying, they're basically not swinging your board anyway, but he does have a spot. The 4 life is a bit rough as well. Anyways, let's get into the next section here.
Yeah, so next up we have blockers here. At the very bottom we have a section where it's just all the blockers in the set, like Eustace Captain Kidd, Yama, Bunny Joe, things like this. I do want to highlight 3 blockers that are a little above and beyond just your regular, 2 cost, 3 cost blocker. Even the Rebecca is good. It is situational though. If you do have some targets you can pick up or play from hand with her, then you can go ahead and run her. But if you're, struggling between, this Rebecca blocker or a 2K or, something that could have a little more use, definitely leave the Rebecca out as she is very situational. But the 3 I want to highlight here, first up is Jinbei. He is a 5-drop 6,000 power, 1K counter. Here on the top left, he has the effect on opponent's turn. If you have 10 Dawn cards on your field, this character gains plus 1,000 power. So a lot of people don't really understand how good it is to actually read every single card, if you have time, obviously, of every card in the set, just to know for this tournament, right? The more knowledge you have and that your opponent doesn't is a win for you, especially when the set is so new. So this card here, when we were testing, I would get swung 6K at, and then if I'm at 10 Dawn, I would just get a free block with this Jinbei because he is a 7K now, essentially. So this Jinbei is really good. It's a 5/7 vanilla, essentially, blocker. So really good card. Next up here in the middle, we have X-Drake. He is, look at the top 5 cards, and then you get to rearrange them and put them either at the top or the bottom. And he's another 5/6 blocker. It's that sweet spot that, these blockers love to be at. Again, a super amazing card. You need a blocker, and you find one in the top 5, put it to the top. You need an event, whatever you need. If you find it, you can just put it at the top. You're drawing an next turn, right? And then on the other hand, we have the last one. It is Basile Hawkins. He is a 4/5 1K counter that states on block, draw 1 card. If you have 3 or less cards in your hand, then this character gains 1,000 power during this battle. Again, another vanilla stat line if you have 3 or less cards, and more often than not, you can play aggressive and defend aggressively to get down to that 3 or less card sweet spot, which makes this card always online. I think this is a great card because not only do you get to be at 6K for 4 Dawn, it is also a draw 1 at 3 or less. For blockers, you want to keep your small blockers till late game. You want to swing, go for game, drop 2, small blockers. There are answers for the small blockers in the set, so it is kind of scary, but for the most part, these big blockers you want to play earlier on. These smaller blockers you kind of want to wait for a perfect moment to just protect yourself for a turn, but that is going to be the blockers for OP05.
Yep, just any blockers, guys, just pretty much put them in your deck. There's very, very few situations where you're not going to use any of these blockers.
Yep. Next up, we have 2Ks. So a very a very small amount of 2Ks actually. And 2 of them come in from black, which has the Celestial Dragon archetype, at least some of the cards, which are really awful. Not sure why those were printed. I genuinely dislike the Celestial Dragon archetype cards. But regardless, here we have, any 2K that you get, you kind of just want to take, right? The more 2Ks that you can block out, the better, right? You can never have enough 2Ks. If you have 10, if you have 12, you take them. They're super good, very defensive cards, and you kind of always want to, have at least some. And then cards like this, this yellow 2K here at the top left, it can trigger on play, trash 1, play it, right? So if you get that off life, you swing momentum. There's probably the best 2K in my opinion, just because of the trigger. All right, and then there's 2 other quick ones I do want to actually highlight. So the first one is going to be this Frankie 2K. If you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your Dawn field, if you Dawn X1, he gains Rush. So for 6 Dawn, you can get a 5,000 power Rush. Doesn't feel like the best Rush, but if you just need 1 extra swing to win the game, it can do that for you, right? So a lot of the times in Whitebeard decks, they would like to run the Jozu 2Ks because it's the same deal, right? You pay 6 for a Rush 5K, and so, or a Rush 6K. Here we have a blue 2K that is on play, draw 2 cards and place 2 cards from your hand at the bottom of your deck in any order. So essentially you're cycling 2 cards. You draw 2, put 2 onto the bottom of your deck. So if you have 2 bricks or 2 cards you don't need, you can go ahead and play this and remove those cards. And if you need defense, boom, you can draw them. cycle out bad cards you don't want, and maybe you find the winning play with a card like this. So I think it could be really useful and in certain situations be actually played.
All right, and next up here we have your vanilla stat line cards. These are specifically the bigger vanillas. We do not include the 2/4 vanillas as they really aren't that useful. But this also includes the cards with effects that have a vanilla stat line. You are also always running those. So just to stress it here, any of these cards, if you get them, you are most likely running them minus maybe the 3/5s. You do not always need the 3/5s. But let's start on the bottom left. We do have just your typical 3/5 with counter vanillas. If you don't have anything better, you're running these guys. Followed by on the right of them, the 3/5 vanillas with an effect. The law effect not going to do anything really, and the Morley effect is actually not bad because if you swing 7K, they can't use blockers at all, so that can actually get you guaranteed games. Now moving to the top left, we actually don't have any 4/6 like normal vanillas this time around, which is interesting. But we do have a lot of strong 4/6 cards with effects. So the Rob Lucci in the back, kind of hidden. That one is decent, but honestly not going to do too much. It'll remove like one blocker, and that's about it. And then the Pika is going to be insane, as if you just leave up one Dawn, it's going to set itself to active and protect itself every single turn. So if you play this on turn 4, this deck is basically going to be swinging every turn. And next up, the Brook. I think this Brook is amazing to play if you have eight or more Dawn cards on your field. If they have 2 characters they swung with, which they usually do, this basically guarantees you get to KO them both. And then next up we have the bigger normal vanillas, the 5, 6, and 7 costs. Again, just big cards. Can't stress it enough. Any card with a big stat line, you are basically running, guys. These guys are no exception. And then on the right, we have actually 2 different 10/12 Kaidos this set. We have the secret rare Kaido that draws you 4 if your opponent has 3 or less life. You are always running that. That is insane if you get that effect off and get a 12K on board. That is never getting removed. And then on the bottom we have the 10/12 Kaido from last set that's actually getting a special art this time around that you can get in your packs and you can play. So this one is actually the one that sends an 8 and 3 back. Just an amazing tempo. Send a 3-cost vanilla back. So they play this 8-10 right here. If you send that back, oh my, that is an insane swing. So any of these vanillas, guys, you are probably playing and going to be adding to your deck.
All right. So next up, we have the if you have to tier. I would like to say that all these cards here are definitely decent cards, and if you need filler spots, these are okay cards to grab. A lot of the times you'll have 30 core cards, 20 core cards where it's like, oh, these are really good, I'm taking these, and then you kind of have to fill in the gaps for the rest of your deck. These are only 40 card decks, so not too bad. But obviously, all on the right, all those cards stacked up are just events that are good defensively. Zoro Juro, Ramp, just a bunch of good cards that you could definitely run in your deck. And I just want to highlight a couple of these in this tier. The first being Karasu. He is a 4-drop, 5,000 power, 1K counter. You don't get his on-play effect of minus 1,000 power to a leader or character, but you do get the when attacking effect. If this leader has 7,000 power or more, give it to one of your opponent's leader or character minus 1,000 power during his turn. So you could attach 2 Dawn onto him, swing 7K either at leader or a character, and you get to opt to use that minus 1,000 power either to leader or a character to help kill it. So overall, it is a pretty good card to play. Drop down on the board and then get ready to use this effect the next turn. Next up, we have Kuma. So it's the other red card here on the left. Did a 2-drop, 2,000 power, 1K counter. On play, KO to one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 power or less. So I don't know if you saw, but if you go back to the blocker slide, we had so many blockers at 1,000 power, 2,000 power. Just these really low to the ground blockers that can just be KO'd by this Kuma instantly. So I think if you have this card and you have an option to take it, you 100% take it. So this is definitely one of the highlighted cards in this section. Next up, we have Gamma, it is Dawn -1. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -5,000 power during this turn. So you rest 2, you Dawn -1, and you give a character -5,000. Essentially, whatever you swing into it, it's dying. You know, like the -5,000 is a lot. So, you know, imagine a 7K body going down to 2K. Now you can just swing, you know, a weenie unit. You can swing the Kuma at it to start off, right? And then leader, and then, you know, you just have so many options. So I think that's definitely a great card to have. And then ulti, of course, 4,000 or 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1K counter. On play, if your leader is a multicolored leader, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and add up to 1 card to your hand, and then place the rest at the top or the bottom in any order. So if you do end up playing any multicolored leaders, this on play effect is super, super good. I'm not sure which multicolored leader you could actually run, but this is obviously, you know, at the end of the day, still a great card to run. It is a 4/5, 1K counter. And this is the if you have to tier. So decent cards all around.
Yep. Probably, honestly, just bringing the majority of these cards. Just because with the cards you're getting in packs, you really won't have an option. But next up is the must-take tier. So these are the GOATs of this format. If you see these cards, yeah, you are 100% bringing them. They will win you games, and they're going to definitely swing games in your favor.
So let's go ahead and start off with the first one on this list. It is Ohm. It is a 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1K counter that reads, if you have 2 or less life, this character gains plus 1,000 power. And then on play, look at top 5 cards, reveal up to 1 Holy, which is a 3-drop vanilla, and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom, and you can play up to 1 Holy from your hand. So if you have this combo with the 3-drop vanilla, you get to play it for free. More often than not, that probably won't be the case. But if you do get this combo, it is so good and so momentum swinging. It is very good to run.
Yep, 100%. And next up here, we have another one of these special cards, reprints that you can find. It's going to be the OG56 starter deck Rush Luffy. This one, obviously, Dawn X2, cannot be blocked. A Rusher in general, I think there's very, very few Rushers this time around. This is one of your only options. And obviously, we know the strength of this card so far. And if you see this, yeah, this is going to just win you a game. They can have as many blockers as you want. You can put 10 on this, and that's just game over.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, we have Garatsu. So he is a 5/6, 1,000 counter. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with cost equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards. So if you end up going first and you have this on curve turn 3, more often than not, your opponent's going to be at 4 life. Right, 4 life if they take the first one. If not, they're at 5 life. So regardless of whatever they played at 4 Dawn, this card here is just going to instantly KO that and give you a big momentum swing, because not only did you get rid of their vanilla body they played or their blocker or whatever they played, now you have a 5/6 on board, you know, ready to attack them. And it's just very, very great card. I think this is one of the better ones. Obviously, it's run in a bunch of yellow decks in the actual meta. So for this format, it is just as good, and you definitely want to run this card.
And next up here, we have Sabo, one of the other SRs here, going to be a 6-cost 7K stat line, which we'd probably run anyway, but let's talk about the effect, because that is what makes this card insane. It's going to be on play KO up to 2 of your opponent's characters with total power at 4,000 or less. So just off rip, if they have like 2 low cost and low power blockers here, this card's going to KO both of them on play while establishing a 7K, which is disgusting. And as we saw, most of the blockers are around that power line, so that will happen more times than not. Not to mention, there is cards like Gamma Knife that can reduce power, or say Karasu if you're running that, which can allow you to KO things of bigger power, which is going to be a huge momentum swing and win you a ton of games.
Yep, next up we have Yamato. So this is the 5/5 1K counter, double attack, banish Yamato. This Yamato here is pretty insane, just for the fact that you can drop this card and there's not much your opponent can do to remove it. You know, there's cards like what is it, Kuma, that can kill a 2,000 power or less. So if they do have something like that event we went over where, you know, minus 5,000 and then you Kuma, yeah, you can get rid of it. But regardless of that, like, you can, you know, Gadatsu potentially, this Yamato is sticking on board is what I'm trying to get at. It's going to stick on board and you're going to have to deal with one swing. So if you play this on curve and then on your fourth turn you're at 7 Dawn, you just swing 12 at them, they're going to have to take a double attack banish, which is just a huge momentum swing. And especially if you're running Kid, they're that much closer to lethal and you're in a good spot. This Yamato is super good and the altar looks amazing. So yeah, obviously if you get this card, 100% you want to run it.
And next up here, we've got 7 cost Don Quixote do Flamengo. Going to be an 8k stat line, massive stat line, which is going to be huge in this format. And its effect is going to be on opponent's attack. Once per turn, you can tap 1 Don. So this is basically like you're countering out. You do have to leave 1 Don active when you pass to your opponent. And then you can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. So in my testing, especially when playing with Kid, you're usually only going for leader, right? You're trying to get them low, you're trying to end the game. So they are going to have a decently wide board, whether that be multiple blockers or multiple like 5k to 7k attackers. Basically everything is in range in the mid game for this effect. You're always going to get that 1 Dawn rest, and they can't really do anything about it because there's no cards that can remove this guy. So you play this on 8, you leave that 1 Dawn up, and basically you're saying I have infinite counter for one of your swings because I am now making it invalid.
Yeah, an amazing card to honestly run. Hopefully I can pull a couple of those, seeing as it is only an uncommon. I would love to have 2 or 3 of those in my deck. Imagine, you summon 2 and you can just, keep 2 Dawn up. Now you're resting their whole board with their first swing. But regardless, next up we have a Nell. So this is a 7 cost, 7,000 power rush. Obviously you probably don't ever want to use the effect. Maybe in certain circumstances if you have lethal next turn. Once per turn, if this character were to leave the field, you may trash 1 card from the top of your life instead and it stays on board. 7/7 rush, can't go wrong with it. You establish a body on board and you get to swing with it right away. If you're ahead and you play this, you just increase your lead, just like that. I think this is an amazing card and you definitely want to run it if you grab it.
And next up here, we've got Borsalino in blue. Is going to be another 7/8 stat line. This one's going to be a very simple effect, just on play. Bottom deck, a 4 or less cost character. So as far as 4 or less goes, there's actually a lot of targets for this card, whether it be blockers, 4/6 vanilla stat lines, this Ohm, cards like this. This card's going to have a lot of targets, and while establishing an 8k is just going to be insanely powerful. Not much to say about this card because that effect speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, next up, we have 200 million volts Amaru. So on your main phase, up to 1 of your leader character card gains 3,000 power during this turn. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with cost 4 or less. So let's break that down. It is 3,000 power for 2 Dawn. You can't see the cost, but it is a 2 cost. So you get plus 3,000 power to a leader or character for 2 Dawn. So already you're gaining, 1 Dawn usage, right? You're getting 3,000 power. Then if you're at 1 or less life, you get to rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with cost 4 or less. So let's say they blocker. You have this in hand. Boom, 1 of their blockers instantly offline. You're resting it and you're giving your leader plus 3,000. This card here is definitely going to win you games. It is 100% always going to be ran. It is such a good card. Can't say enough good things about a card like this.
Yep, and next up here we have a very similar card that's also going to be a 2-cost event in the main phase. And it's going to give 1 of your leaders or characters 3k for the turn, and then place a 2 or less on the bottom of the deck. So let's just talk about this in Green Kid. As we saw, a lot of 2-cost blockers. So say I'm going for game. I play this for 2, bottom deck a blocker, and I get 3k. So that 2 Dawn that I would have attached to leader anyway is now getting converted to extra power that I would have had, while also removing a blocker at the same time. And now my double swing is going to be bigger. It's actually going to be 2k power bigger because obviously this is going to give you 1k more and you're getting 2 swings. Just a no-brainer, especially in Kid, and just a overall disgusting card that is going to definitely pull out some games.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, we have L4. So this is a counter card. Up to 1 of your leaders or character cards gains plus 2,000 plus 2000 power during this battle. Then if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, that card gains an additional 2000 power. So it is a 1 cost for essentially 4000 power counter, which is probably the best and most efficient blocking event, countering event in this set. You definitely want to run this. You get so much value out of it. Then, if you get this in trigger early, K up to one of your opponent's characters with cost equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards. Again, it is the Gadatsu effect. So if you get that off of first life and they have a 3-drop vanilla on board, or maybe let's say you block out and on second life they'll be at 4 life and you get this trigger off top life and you can KO a 4-drop or less. It's just a good secondary effect to an already amazing defensive ability.
And last but certainly not least, we have Punk Rotten. It's like this card was specifically made for Kid in pre-release. If you're running Kid, this card is basically I win the game. So for 2 Dawn, during the main phase, you can do Dawn -1, and up to one of your Kid Pirates type leader or characters gains 5,000 power during this turn. So obviously, you can see how strong this is. If you're going for game, that 2 Dawn that was going to convert to 2,000 power now gets converted to more than double in 5,000 power. So for 2 Dawn, you can put this on your leader, 5k, attach the remaining, 5 more Dawn. So you are now at 15k, and you get a double 15k swing, which obviously there is no one on planet Earth that is countering out of that. Yeah, so this obviously this is only for Kid leader. If you aren't running Kid, this is just don't play tier. But if you are doing what we are telling you and you're playing Kid, this is the card for you. This is going to win you a ton of games.
Yeah, I mean, there is a certain circumstance where maybe you have the 5-drop Kid blocker, which is Kid Pirates. Maybe you could run this. Obviously, the trigger is definitely good. You just ramp a Dawn, so that's very useful. But yeah, for the most part, if you don't have a target for this, obviously it is useless. So definitely don't run it. But obviously, like we said at the start of the video, we're running Kid for our best chance to win the winner card for this event, and Punk Rotten helps you get there. Now imagine you have a Houndblaze, a Volt, and a Punk Rotten.
Good game.
Now that's 11k plus an extra 1k. That's 12k. Add the 5 leader power. That's 17k double swing. I think that's it's a pretty amazing turn right there. It's definitely a lot of damage. This honestly, the Kid ability definitely wins this format alone. That Kid leader is so strong, being that there's not really much combos you can do in a format like this. Yeah, for the most part, all these cards here you guys see are definitely in the must take. You guys need to run these. All right, Pirates, thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate you guys. And before I send you guys off, I do want to let you know 75% of our viewers are not subscribed to our channel. I just checked. We'll have the picture up on the screen so you guys can see. Only about 25% of our viewers are actually subscribed to us. So a lot of you guys are watching and enjoying our content but not subscribing. So that is the one favor I ask you guys is please just subscribe to our channel. It'd mean a lot to us. We're putting in a lot of effort and time into these videos, and we're dropping one every single day. And I will say there is going to be a lot more streams coming up for OP05 as Nats is coming up, and we're going to gear towards potentially getting some good placements. So we want to practice a lot of OP05, and we'll be streaming a lot of it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below what you thought about this video and about this guide. If you have any questions, we'll be sure to respond to you guys. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.